When we think of a rare personality, our minds usually jump to something you can see, right? Like a loud talent or some eccentric habit. But in psychology, the truly rarest personalities, they're not defined by what they show the world, not at all. They're defined by an internal experience, this incredible cognitive depth that quietly shapes everything they do. Okay, so let's dive into this unseen architecture. Let's just start with a feeling. Do you ever get the sense that while everyone else is just reacting, you're processing? That you're not just in the conversation, but you're also kind of observing it from a step back? Yeah? If that sounds even a little bit familiar, then this is for you. And this is the crucial point. That feeling isn't a flaw, it's a feature. It's not about being better or worse, not even close. It's about experiencing life through these extra layers of perception and reflection and intuition. Your mind is just, well, it's wired for a different kind of journey. And look, this isn't a choice you're making, it's not a personality you're putting on for show. This is the fundamental structure of how you think and feel. It's like the psychological blueprint you were born with. And really understanding that blueprint, that's the first step toward harnessing its quiet power. So, let's explore the core components of this whole architecture. What are the psychological mechanisms that actually create this feeling of depth and difference? Well, psychology points to two key functions that, when they're highly developed, they change the very nature of how you see the world. So the first one is metacognition, and this is so much more than just self-awareness. It's the mind's ability to be its own observer, to literally step outside the stream of consciousness. So instead of being carried away by an emotion, you can sort of hold it and examine it and figure out where it came from. It's rare because, honestly, it's cognitively expensive. It requires a level of internal detachment that most people just never develop. Now, what's really fascinating here is how this gets misunderstood by the outside world. Society sees the pause, the quiet, and immediately labels it overthinking. But overthinking is chaotic, right? It's this feedback loop of anxiety. Metacognition, or let's call it layered thinking, is the opposite. It's a calm, structured search for clarity. The misunderstanding happens because the whole process is invisible. Other people only see the delay, and they project their own experience of internal chaos onto your silence. Just think about it in your own life. When you get angry or excited, is there a part of your mind that kind of takes a step back and just watches it happen? Almost like a director watching a scene unfold? That little internal observation deck. That's the home of metacognition, and it's a huge hallmark of this rare internal architecture. Okay, let's move to the second pillar, empathic accuracy. Now, this isn't some mystical power, and it's not just sympathy. It's a highly tuned form of pattern recognition. What you're doing is processing thousands of micro data points, tiny shifts in tone, facial micro-expressions, changes in breathing, things that other people's brains just filter out as noise. Your mind instinctively analyzes all this data, and it reveals the emotional truth that's simmering just beneath the surface of a conversation. And this right here, this illustrates the double-edged sword of this trait perfectly. The gift is a profound ability to connect with people and see what's really going on. But the burden? It's an immense cognitive and emotional load. You're not just hearing words, you're processing the entire emotional subtext of a room. And that can lead to this deep exhaustion and the really isolating feeling of perceiving a reality that nobody else seems to notice. And this brings us right to the central conflict. What happens when an inner world that's built for depth and nuance and precision has to operate in an outer world that prizes speed and simplicity and surface-level signals? Well, the result is this constant, low-grade friction. And here's what that friction feels like in real life. I bet some of these will sound familiar. Your calm is read as coldness because the world thinks if you're not outwardly emotional, you must not be feeling anything. Your silence is seen as judgment because people assume if you're not talking, you must be criticizing them. Your depth gets called too intense simply because it asks for a level of engagement the other person just isn't prepared to give. Every single one is a complete misreading of your internal architecture. And here's the root cause of all of it. People project their own internal experience onto you. For them, to achieve that level of calm or insight would require this huge conscious effort, a performance. They can't even imagine it as a natural resting state because, frankly, their own psychological blueprint has no reference point for it. So the crucial takeaway here is this. If you feel misunderstood, you are not failing at communication. It's the natural result of having an operating system that's built for high-resolution emotional data in a world that often communicates in, let's say, low-resolution sound bites. But then, there comes a moment, it's like this quiet internal revolution, when the whole narrative shifts. It's when you stop trying to translate your inner world for everyone else, and you just start to inhabit it fully. This is the turning point, where the very things that once felt like social liabilities, you start to recognize them as your greatest sources of strength. Let's just walk through this reframing, step by step. You realize your sensitivity. It's not fragility, it's high-resolution perception. Your depth isn't too intense, it's an unwavering commitment to authenticity. Your calmness, it's not coldness, it's the result of emotional mastery, of being able to observe your feelings without being consumed by them. Your independence is self-respect, and your need for solitude, that's not being antisocial. It's the necessary act of restoring the energy you spend on all that deep processing. And all of this leads to the final stage, a state of psychological independence. It's this quiet strength that comes not from finally being understood by the world, but from deeply and completely understanding yourself. The first thing that happens is that the need for external validation it falls away. You stop auditioning for acceptance or editing yourself to try and fit in. Your sense of worth is generated internally, so it's no longer up for external debate. And then you stop searching for that one group that will finally get you. Instead, you discover that true belonging is really the feeling of being at home with yourself. Solitude completely transforms from a state of loneliness into a sanctuary for clear thinking and restoration, because your own company is coherent and it's true. And this is the ultimate strength. Because of that well-practiced metacognition we talked about, your identity becomes stable. It's held steady by your own internal compass, not by what other people think or by social pressures. You know who you are from the inside out, and that knowledge is an unshakable foundation. This is the final realization. This is the quiet peace that just settles in. You learn that being understood by others is a gift, for sure, but it's no longer a requirement for your own wholeness. You can exist fully and authentically in your own truth. So, I'll leave you with this final thought. What if all the ways you felt out of place, or too much, or misunderstood, what if they weren't signs of something wrong? What if they were simply the evidence of a rare and powerful internal design? An architecture built not for conformity, but for truth.